Hi everyone, I'm Abigail. This is Kalifa, and welcome to another Two Kids Dinner.
We are joined by New York Times bestselling illustrator and award-winning author Betty Tang.
Ms. Tang has illustrated children's books and the graphic novel versions of Jackie Haha, and she wrote and illustrated the amazing book that came out earlier this year, Parachute Kids.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Before your book, I had never heard of the term parachute kid. Can you tell our audience what a parachute kid is?
Yes, you're not the only ones. Many people haven't. It's mostly known among the Chinese communities because that's where the term was coined. So parachute kids refers to kids who are usually left with relatives or friends or paid caregivers while their parents in foreign countries, while their parents return to their home countries in order to work and provide for them. So I was one of those kids. So that's why I wrote the book. I would like more people to know about kids like me.
How much of you is in Feng Li?
How much for me? I would say the very beginning. I mean, the book is fiction. I would say, but I based the initial beginning of the book, all her fears and worries, and starting a new school and learning new language and new culture, right, in America, coming from Taiwan. And that had a lot of me in it, with the first day of not being able to understand anything, and then all the kids they were interested in me for about 2 minutes. Then I realized I can't speak anything, and they all split. So, and it was kind of lonely childhood, but it's okay now. Good questions.
You grew up reading manga. A lot of years went by between that and Parachute Kids. Can you tell us a bit about your journey in between?
Yes. So I think did I mention back in my author's note a little bit about it, that when I grew up, I read a lot of mangas, and I wanted to be a manga artist when I came, and I wanted to do that, right? And then my parents brought us here in the US to the United States from Taiwan. And then I was crushed when I found out at the time in the 1980s, there was no mangas here. And at least not supported by the mainstream, right? And there was like the superhero comic books, but I wasn't really into those. And so I went into the next best thing, which was animation. So I went to CalArts, which is California Institute of the Arts, for those who don't know. It was originally founded by Walt Disney, and it's in California, Valencia. And so I went there with the intention of becoming an animator, and I was in the industry for many years. Worked on stuff like The Simpsons and stuff, and it was really fun. And then everything switched to 3D animation. Like everything you see now on the big screen and mostly on TV is computer animation, right? So, but I wanted to keep drawing by hand, so I switched to children's book illustration. So that's and then right, and then some 20 plus years later, or 30 plus years later, how old am I now? It came out with, like, it was Jackie Haha, right? That was my first book in graphic novels, and then Jackie Haha 2, and now my own graphic novel. And so my dream came true, right? So graphic novel and manga are kind of same, right? Except different regions. And so don't ever let go of your dream, kids.
Can you tell us what your mom thinks and feels about parachute kids, and if she feels any differently now versus about the decision for you to be a parachute kid?
You about my mom? Oh, good question. That's a really good question. My mom, I've talked to her. I mean, I did a lot of research, and I talked to a lot of other immigrant friends and who know parachute kids and parachute kids. And my mom, who knew a lot of parachute kids as well and families. I interviewed a lot of them. And for my mom specifically, I asked her about it, and she says, well, but of course, there's certain regret, right? But because of what we had to go through. But she said, but that's just what everybody who could did at the time. Because they thought they were giving us a better and safer opportunity. And for those who don't know, the reason why a lot of families decided to uproot their families to come to the United States or another country. It doesn't have to be the US, it could be Canada and other places. But in the 1980s, that was the most popular destination was here in the US. And so the reason why was this might be a little bit too serious for your audience, but for those who want to know, is basically back in the early 1980s, 1979 specifically. So the America used to have a diplomatic relationship with Taiwan. They recognized Taiwan as the China, and then in 1979 they decided to change it to the mainland China, the big China, right? And Taiwan becomes nobody now. So at that time, everybody on the island was afraid that the China was going to invade and take over Taiwan. And so that's why a lot of people fled. Those who could did that. So my mom, to answer your question, so my mom thought that was my parents, my mom and dad, thought that it was the safest route for us. But can you imagine your parents put you somewhere else because they're hopeful for your safety, but then they return to the place where there's supposed to be danger and continue to work, right, to provide for you. So that's why I wanted to mention that in the book too, the sacrifice the parents made too. These are great questions.
What is the most meaningful interaction you've had when talking to a student during a school visit?
The one that was most memorable is after a school visit, after my song and dance about my book, about these 3 Taiwanese siblings, this blonde-haired little girl came up to me, and she says, "I can relate to Fengli," the little girl here. She said, "I can relate to her." I said, "Oh, really?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm from France." And of course, a lot of people could laugh. Oh, well, she's from France. France is Europe. Europe is but she's still an immigrant, right? She came to this country, and there's cultural differences, there's language differences, and she came and she's adjusting too. So I thought that's most memorable because she didn't see the difference between my face and Fengli's face versus her face. To her, it's just kids having issues, right? So it was most memorable and most touching because all she saw was that we're all humans, right? We're all human beings, instead of you're from this place and that place and the boundary separates us. No, right? We all have the same fears and worries and happiness and love and wants. So yeah, that's the most memorable.
This past summer, we interviewed Chris Grabenstein, and he was awesome. He and James Patterson have a crazy amount of best-selling books. What was it like to find out that you wanted to illustrate the graphic novel of Jackie Haha?
I was over the moon. That was my very first, after entering into the illustration, I got my agent, and immediately she opened the door for me. And I had to do the test, right? They don't just hire anybody. They would select a few illustrators that they think that is potential, but then you have to provide a sample test to show them, and they see if you can do the work or not. So when I found out it was James Patterson and Chris Grabenstein, I was like, oh my gosh. So it was beyond my wildest dreams, and it propelled my career. So I think in life, you study hard, train hard, work hard for that opportunity to come. And when that opportunity comes, you are ready to seize it. So I just feel like, being in publishing, sometimes a lot of times it has to do with luck. A lot of, actors say the same thing, right? A lot of times it has to do with luck, but you have to be ready, right? To be able to deliver. How was it interviewing him? No, I'm interviewing you.
It was fun.
It was fun. Good.
So much of art is now done on computers. If someone wants to illustrate a graphic novel, should we be learning how to draw by hand or should we be doing everything on a computer?
It's a misconception that it's done on computer is a tool. So you have to know how to draw. Especially as graphic novel. I mean, if you want to go into animation, I would say maybe you don't need to draw anymore. But I think back in animation days, when they first switched to 3D animation, the best animators were still the ones who knew how to draw because they just have a sense of expressions and things. Anyways, so to answer your question, yes, computer is a tool. For example, I actually draw on my iPad. Right, all the graphic novels I've done are drawn on iPad. So, but the iPad doesn't create the drawings for me. I had to draw. So,
I actually draw on iPads a lot too.
great.
Is it easier to illustrate when it's your own text?
Yes, I think so. Well, it is easier in a sense is that as an author, you have more creative control. Like when I'm working on a Parachute Kids, if there is something that I feel I need to change, because sometimes you don't know until you start drawing how things will flow. And so you could change it because you're the author, right? And you run it by your editor and make sure it's okay. But if you're just the illustrator, you have to stay pretty close to what the script dictates, but there is some leeway. For Jackie Haha, I did make some changes, and then to let them see there's another option, and they, for the most part, they took them all, so it was great.
What is your process when putting a graphic novel together?
Do you decide the end before the middle?
Or do you put it together in order?
Oh, the process of making a graphic novel? Well, first it starts with the script, right? It always starts with the script. I mean, if you're the author, I like to brainstorm a lot and jot down ideas first, and then I go with an outline, like a skeleton, as they call it, like an outline, and I would try to work out the beginning, middle, and end. And sometimes I work from the end. I know where I want the book to go, and I know how the book opens. The middle part is the hardest part because it's the journey in the middle, right? You have to make it interesting enough to make people keep reading. And because if it's boring in the middle, they'll never reach the end. They'll just put it down. And so the other day, I actually received a letter from another reader, and he said that my book was the first book he read it to the end. That was such a compliment. He said he tried reading many graphic novels. He always like first 10 pages and he just puts it down. And then he said with my book, he read it all the way to the end. And it was like, that made my day. Forget the awards, forget the, everything else. That's why I do graphic novels.
We've interviewed a number of authors who've had books banned.
Mm-hmm.
That means kids don't have the same access to books that we have and may not be able to see themselves represented in books.
Can you give us your thoughts on this?
I just think it's a tragedy. I mean, we're in 2023 and people are still banning books. We learn nothing from history, and banning books, it's a very selfish thing, right? It's almost like I know what's best for the whole world, or all the kids out there, what you should and shouldn't read. That is just arrogance. And I think those adults who want to ban books, any books, is doing a disservice to you, right? Those kids who can't pick the books they wanted to read, because books are like windows to the world. Because if you can't travel, you can't meet certain type of people, you can't go to space, books are your opportunity to learn about something else, right? And so you get to explore, but they want you to kind of like stay in their own little design world and limit you, which I think is just a crime. Yes.
We agree. Can you tell us exactly where you were and your reaction when you found out you were a New York Times best-selling illustrator?
Yes. Well, the James Patterson and Chris Gravenstein are the New York Times best-selling author, and so I tag along because I illustrated it, and so naturally their books is because, like you said, all of their books are best-selling, right? And so I like to think I did a decent job, so it's sold well because of it. But yeah, it was mind blown. So it really helped. It really helped.
Speaking of honors, there's a lot of buzz around Parachute Kids and the Newbery.
Do you pay attention to what people are saying, or do you try not to think about it at all? What is your award thinking philosophy?
What was this about Newbery? You know something I don't? Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, awards are, what is my philosophy on awards? First of all, I don't read too much reviews because not everybody's going to like your book, and a lot of us creators have very sensitive souls. So when we read bad reviews, it can negate all the good reviews out there. So I try not to read too many. I hear through the grapevine that the book is doing well, and then I'm happy, and I continue to do the next one. What it would be nice to win awards because it helps. It helps other people to know about the book, right? And of course, it gives a certain stamp of approval because there's so many books out there, and parents and kids need to have something to help them sort it out, where to go to. So awards certainly help, but there are plenty of great books that haven't won awards. It is just because it's just a very, very very large pool for a few awards, right? So
if we had a Newbery vote, it would be Parachute Kids.
Oh, thank you. What did you like about the book? I'm turning the table on you.
I really liked it because the drawings were all very nice, and the story was told, and I felt like I was right there in it. Like when the sister in the story got scammed, I felt like I was right there experiencing that with her, and I was like, oh my goodness. It was just so surprising.
I agree.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, that means the art worked. Was it scary?
I was like shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, that was a lot of money.
Like, I know, a lot of money. And I was like, what now? Right? And so.
What writer or illustrator has had the most influence on you?
That is always a difficult question because I think most of my art, because I think I like to think I draw expressions very well. I think that is from the animation days, because the animation you need to really know how to draw expressions, because it's a moving art form now, so it's almost like watching a movie. And so I mean, it is watching a movie, but what I mean is a live action movie, so the emotion has to be there in faces. So animation, but illustration, even illustration style wise is quite manga and animation combined. I think that's my, so because I worked for so many studios before, and so a lot of the styles really mix together. If you want to like force me to say somebody specific, I really can't pinpoint because I think it's like a big melting pot.
What advice do you have for young writers or illustrators?
Advice for young writers or illustrators? That's another good question. I think is, first of all, don't give up. Don't let the naysayers tell you you can't do it, because there are a lot of, you don't know how many stories I've read about successful writers or illustrators later who have said that so-and-so teacher from high school and junior high or whatever, and told them they don't have what it takes, so just give up. Isn't that terrible to discourage someone like that? And so first of all, don't give up. And second of all, don't I guess grow thicker skin. Because when you work, it's one thing you draw or write for yourself, you don't let anybody else see it, but once you are submitting it professionally or to other people to read, and whatever feedback that comes in, you know, can be good or bad, right? It could be positive or negative. That goes back to don't give up, don't let them discourage you. So grow thicker skin, and just shrug off the bad negative reviews or negative feedback, because I mean, feedbacks can be good, because when somebody comes with you with critique, if it's a good critique, you can think about it and say, is this what I want? Is this work for where my story is going and where my drawing is looking? If it's good, then you take it, right? Somebody else's great advice, you take it. But if you say, no, that's not quite what I want to do, then shrug it off. That's my advice. Yeah.
We are crazy excited that there is a Parachute Kids sequel coming. I think it's in spring of 2025. Can you tell us the title?
We don't know the title yet. Right now, it's Parachute Kids. It's still deep. I mean, I would tell you if I knew. I proposed the title, but and then they're Scholastic Graphics. You know, they're the pros, so they kind of know what might resonate better. So I don't know yet. So right now, it's just Parachute Kids 2. Oh, I'm glad you're excited about it. So their story continues. I know a lot of people from have asked me, you know, whether their story continues, because people want to know. And it's great, because that means that readers care about the fate of these 3 siblings.
What did you propose for the title?
I proposed, I think it was Worlds Collide, because you're the first I've told. It's a story kind of about it's like a culture clash and differences clashing. You know, they came here, they endured the first 6 months and experience all these differences, and they finally are settling and starting to like America and adapting, right? But then life goes on, right? And so they encounter more things that creates a certain conflict in their ways, in their lifestyle, and eventually a big surprise I won't give away yet. So that was a non-answer, I know.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm excited for you to read it. I know, 2025, huh? Spring. It takes a long time to make a graphic novel. So, you know, when a lot of the kids have told me that they read, I read Parachute Kids in a day or in 2 days. And I'm like, well, it took me a year to draw this. Can you slow down just a little bit? But then they told me later on, but then they read it over and over and over, right? So that makes up for it. It's like, slow down, look at the art.
You think there is any chance Parachute Kids becomes a trilogy?
Well, if Scholastic is hearing this, it's up to them. I'm open to it. I have something planned out already, but it's up to them. Because, you know, yeah, a life of people, characters don't just end at the end of a book, right? It can continue on indefinitely. Just depends how much the author can spin their story.
Is there another project that you are working on now?
At the same time, no. Because it's pretty there. I know there are other authors and illustrators who are amazing, who can juggle multiple projects. For me, graphic novel, it's a little bit too much, because I like to do a lot of details. I don't know if you've seen the book. It's just, you know, those backgrounds that nobody pay attention to. I'm doing all these little microwave, the cups, you know, so I take probably too long in making them. But I can only do one graphic novel at a time. If it's graphic novel, if it's picture book, it's different, you know.
Finally, it's time for Turbo 10.
10 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Number 1, what is your favorite phrase to use?
Oh my gosh. I guess that's it.
Number 2, what is one subject you'd love to learn more about?
Maybe music, I guess.
Number 3, what is your go-to snack food?
my go-to snack food is peanut butter sandwich.
Number 4. What was your favorite book growing up?
The Glass Mask. I mentioned that in the book, the manga.
Number 5. If you could teleport somewhere right now, where would you go?
I would go to Hawaii. Preferably not working.
Number 6. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
It would be able to clone myself so I can work faster.
Number 7. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Well, can I say The Simpsons? Because I worked on The Simpsons.
Number 8. What is your favorite rainy day activity?
My favorite
Rainy day activity.
rainy day activity. It used to be hopping to my car and drive because I love the sound of the raindrops on the windshield, and then I love it's very weird. I love how the wipers wipe away the rain. It's almost like a new start with every wipe. But I don't do that anymore because people don't drive very nicely nowadays. So
Number 9. If you could have any 3 dinner guests, who would they be?
3 dinner guests. I would like to have James Patterson and Chris Gravenstein, and also
It could even be a fictional character.
how could be Harry Potter.
Number 10. What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
No, be happy. Don't worry and be happy.
You were awesome. Thank you so much for doing that.
And thank you for spending.
Thank you. That was fun.
Thank you for spending this time with us.
We can't wait to read your future books.
Oh, thank you so much.